Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's time for another anime first impression video. There's going to be one of them that's releasing on Crunchyroll. There's one episode out, and it is a very odd one. It is My Wife Has No Emotions. From the get-go, I knew this was going to be a weird one. I think I have the first volume of the manga. I just never read it. I think I do. I think I actually do have the first volume. Never read it, but the fact that what the anime is about, I just knew it was going to be odd. It was going to be maybe a niche one, and definitely people are going to judge and make fun of this. But are we going that direction? Possibly, to be honest, and I'll talk about all that. Before anything, if you haven't done so by now, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Give some love by commenting, liking, and sharing. You guys can find me on social media in the description below. I was a little surprised on this one. I thought most anime was starting in July 1st, but this one is released June 29th. So, depending on my scheduling, this might release late, but hopefully it releases on a timely manner. But yeah, it's a good series. It surprised me when it did release. Okay, let's talk about this one. This one is, like I said, interesting in just the premises. We follow the story of our main character, our guy. From the beginning, we see that he's a hard worker. He stays to the last minute, sometimes the last person in the office, and because of this, he has late returns home. So I kind of understand this in the sense of I did live the life of a single male for 2 years. I wasn't single, but my now wife lived hours away from me, like 4 hours away. So it wasn't like we could see each other every day. So I worked, and I won't lie to you, I had to be at work at 8 or 9 sometimes, and I would be there 6 or 7 in the morning. Sometimes, just right on time, but most of the time an hour or two early. And time usually you went home around 4 or 5 from work. Sometimes I would stay 6 to 7, just because. Was there work to do? Yeah, there was a lot of work to do. Could have it waited for me for the next day? Of course, I could have just left and come back, and the work would have still been there. And there's people that live those lives, and they just get so used to it, they just make that their routine. So I understand where he's coming from. You go home, there's not much there waiting for you, right? I can work at work and watch my shows at the same time, and I can do that at home. So why go home if I can do that at work? So it's very understandable where his state of life is. So he basically decides to buy a android that can clean dishes and cook. He does explain that it's like a second-hand android. He couldn't afford anything else. The newer models can do more chores. He talks about all that in the beginning, but it's his android. He gets home, it looks like a girl, and she has food for him, right? Well, this first night that they're eating, he's having a long day. He's having beer, so he does get drunk, and through his drunkenness, he starts flirting with her, right? He thinks it's funny because she's an android, and he can just practice his flirting with her, and really immediately quickly jumps to you would be a good wife. This triggers something to her, and she goes, oh, right, and he kind of just blows it off. He's like, I'm just kidding, don't think anything of it. He feels really awkward about it, and that's that. Well, she starts doing weird stuff, like putting I love you in his omelets and stuff like that. And eventually, on another day that he's tired and he's drinking again, he gets bold enough to ask, what's going on? And she's like, "What? Ain't I your wife?" And he's like, wait, I'm your husband? And she's like, yeah, we asked me to be your wife and you're my husband. I looked it up on the internet and, you know, this is stuff that they do. And he's like, well, like, I guess. And he starts saying, I just want you to cook for me and do all this stuff for me. She's like, that's what I do already as a robot. Like, it's like, yeah, I guess that's right. So the night gets intense whenever he goes to bed, because he wants her to sleep with him. Now, again, she's an android. She doesn't need sleep, but she still hops in with him. He tells her to close her eyes because it's creeping her out. And they basically sleep together, right? There's more to that, but I won't get into details. There's like some weirdness, like he starts feeling intimate, and she mentions it, and he's like, let's forget about that. We're not going to mess with that, right? So the next morning, everything's a little bit weird between them. He not drink anymore, so realizes what happened. She has this weird thing where her eyes are just slightly open, and he's like, okay, first of all, I like your eyes. I just asked you to close your eyes at night because it was weird when we were sleeping or sleeping together. And then secondly, he's like, this is kind of weird, but I guess we can be husband and wife. And that in a nutshell is like the first episode. Weirdness. Of course it's weird. Or I guess the right word should be odd and different to the relationships that obviously are traditional nowadays, between two persons, compared to a person and an android. Are we going to that direction? Like I said, I kind of feel like we are. Like, I know people who will talk to their Alexa or their Siri like if it's a person, because they're alone, and it's just one of those things like, people need people. As much as some of us that are introvert will not want to say, no, I don't need that, we need people. So people that are very introverted and eventually end up making their life where they end up by themselves. And I say that because we don't plan, like, no one plans to be alone. But through your introvertness or whatever it is, you end up being alone. You still want to have that interaction with someone, and people start interacting. And I know people that do that with Alexa and Siri. So can it turn into that if we ever have like a full-grown android that can clean for us and all that, and maybe someone falling in love? I think so. I very much. I don't think the android would be smart enough to eventually become very human-like. Like, this one seems like it's becoming very human-like, and maybe go into that direction in the rest of the anime. But I do think that the relationship side of it, very much possible. It's odd for people, but it's possible. So I mean, there's already that possibility nowadays with people that with unanimated objects that don't really do anything. So why not with something that can respond to you, right? So, oh well, it is what it is. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Let me know what you guys think about the series in the comment section below. I'm back on my room because I'm not in school anymore, so I'll be recording them from my room or from my van, depending what I'm doing that day. I know in 2 weeks, or in a week, actually, I'll be traveling for 2 weeks. So more likely, a lot of those videos will be made in the van. So thank you again for your love and support, guys. Go check out my other first impression videos. A lot to release this week, so don't miss all those videos. And like always, don't be strangers. See you guys.